Very nice to meet you and just to have a couple minutes to talk with you.
Sure. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So my first question is Japan. How did you, Korean? Is that right?
Yes.
Ended up in Japan.
Yeah. So there's kind of a strategic side, and then there's the personal story side. The strategic side is just wanting to be in a needy place, the largest unreached nation on Earth, and also considered by some to be maybe the toughest mission field as
Right.
well. So that's kind of the strategy side of it. And then the personal story side of it really has to do with my family background.
Okay.
The Japanese occupied Korea ostensibly from 1905 to 1945.
Right.
And our family was, that was life. That was the reality
Right.
for my father growing up. And his, he was born with a Japanese name. When he was born,
Oh, really?
he was Matsuyama Hideo.
Okay.
And, history could have turned out differently.
Right.
I could have been Michael Matsuyama.
Right.
But
Now, some people, if they haven't seen me, they think I'm Japanese.
oh yeah,
Because my last name is Suko.
right. Sounds Asian,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I think it was more on the intellectual level that I wanted to respond to, Christ's command to love your enemies,
Okay.
and that was a part of the mix of kind of deciding mission fields.
Mm-hmm.
It was only later on, after I'd already been in Japan for some time, when I was continuing to do my PhD research, where it became much more personal, because I was reading account after account after account of, just basically, systemic rape of, Asian, female population, the comfort women issue, 150 to 200,000 young women and Korean women and young girls.
Mm-hmm.
Basically sex slaves of the Japanese army, and dealing with learning about medical experimentation and all kinds of atrocities. And suddenly what was a comfortable kind of intellectual commitment to love my enemies became
Right.
very personal. And that was a dangerous time, but also an important time for me to confront my own darkness of heart, confront my own temptations for self-righteousness, and really test the nature of my love, whether it's a human affection or a gospel-empowered love. And I'm thankful to have gone through it, but it was kind of a painful period.
Wow. Now, how many years have you been in Japan?
As a family, we've been there for a little bit more than 9 years.
Okay.
And my wife and I were there in 98 and 99, and then I was there in the summer of 93.
Okay.
So a little bit more than 10 years altogether, 10 to 11 years.
Okay. And now, I read Finish the Mission recently, and you wrote a part of that. And it was interesting that you speak pretty boldly about finances and giving towards missions, which some missionaries, I think, shy away from a little bit because they feel like, well, we don't want to be greedy and everything.
Yeah.
But just your idea of how to be a millionaire, I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe you could just explain that a little bit.
Kind of just the concept came up because if you go on websites, finance sites, trying to figure out what to do with your taxes
Right.
or things like that, you have these little pop-up windows or these advertisements on the side on like the Millionaire calculator,
Right,
how long it's going
right.
to take for you to become a millionaire.
Right.
And it's interesting because they presume some level of return,
Right.
percentage of return and stuff, and it tells you put in your salary and how much money you have now, and you're like, okay, you're 28.7 years away from becoming a millionaire. And I thought that was such an interesting concept, and so I used the same calculator to kind of figure out how much giving would it take to for someone at some level to be able to give for the sake of Christ's global cause, give away $1 million.
Right.
And basically similar to kind of saving up for retirement savings.
Mm-hmm.
It two principles. Number one, that you start early, and number two, that you set aside money consistently, and then you can work towards becoming a millionaire. And same two principles for missions giving.
Right.
If you want to be able to give away the equivalent of $1 million, two things: you want to start early in your giving, and you want to remain consistent in your giving. And what a wonderful legacy to be able to hand down to your children and grandchildren, and say, look, yeah, we invested $1 million. We're not rich, but we try to be faithful with what little we had received, and we were able to give away the equivalent of $1 million for eternal reward.
Yeah. That would be great for everyone to be able to say that, all the believers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Even the missionaries. I think missionaries ought to be givers
Same thing.
as well, and not just takers, but givers too.
Yeah.
And then the final question I have for you is, you're obviously involved in theological education. You're a missionary, and you promote missions. What do you see, especially looking towards the future, say next 10, 15 years, how can theological education serve as mobilizing missions, and not just, say, creating another generation of people who sit in the pews and know a whole lot?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, just those who are able to teach, to go to teach, and to serve national churches and helping for the building up of national leaders, similar to what you're doing. In the United States today, we have hundreds and hundreds, maybe even beyond 1,000 or more, of PhD level graduates who are unemployed in Christian studies.
Wow.
Prime candidates to be those who could help to train and encourage and equip leaders to help reach their own people in mission fields across the world. Why is it that they would rather be unemployed than contribute to global missions? I had a video interview with Don Carson earlier, and that was a question I wanted to ask, but I didn't get a chance to get to.
Well, now you get to answer that question.
Yeah, but I think there's something probably about their motivation in getting the training and the really myopic parochial perspective on the Church of Jesus Christ that prevents people from being more strategic in utilizing their God-given gifts. So that would be one whole population that I would love to see mobilized in a way that would really be a wonderful contribution that the West and North America can make for missions.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.